What is good? We're back. Copyright patent pending. We got Mock Draft Mondays back in effect. The boy had to take the family to Disney World. Needed a vacation after the vacation, but we're back. Mock drafting. Next quarterback, or next round, we'll go, next Monday, we'll go one quarterback.
Here we go.
For your pleasure. We
One
got
quarterback.
Alex and Ed in the house. Yo, Ayo, what's good? Appreciate y'all chatting it up in the chat. We are underway in the mock. We've got Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, the first four off the board. We got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, first non-quarterbacks off the board, followed by Bijan Robinson at 7. Then we got Brock Bowers, first tight end off the board. We got a multicolor board coming.
It's very diverse.
Yeah.
The earliest I've seen Bijan.
Yeah, had to edit myself on the live show there.
That's the earliest I've seen Bijan yet.
Yeah, actually wanted to talk about that real quick. Brock Bowers at 108. We got a tight end off the board. So we've won everything. Hurts going at 1-9, super late. Then we got Neighbors, Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Patty Mahomes at 2-1, Gibbs 2-2, and Trey McBride at 2-3. So we've been doing some mocking it up, of course, as per usual over in the Discord. Been seeing McBride fall off a little later, so I've been curious of, drafting in that 2-3, 110 to 2-6 McBride. Sometimes I'll get in there and really tantalize the taste buds. And we just did one. I think I'm in the 108. We're doing one currently, and I took Patrick Mahomes there, and then I came back and took Caleb. The running backs were gone, and I think Trey McBride might have been there. I could have taken St. Brown, but I default just take Patrick Mahomes at 108, and then obviously it's a mock. You're trying to keep things moving. I'm trying to kind of stay out of the mock a little bit. I'm trying to let everybody else do their thing and make the moves so I can kind of react off of those things. But the fact that you can get Patrick Mahomes a little later, and then on top of that, like, it does seem like, and not every draft, but a decent amount of the drafts lately, like you almost, of course you're not getting punished for taking quarterbacks, but you can quite nicely fill out a roster not taking back end of the first round quarterbacks if you don't want to. Now, I'm never going to begrudge you for taking Patrick Mahomes, which is why I took him at 108. It's like, yeah, it's early. Maybe I would have even got him back at the wraparound there. And, hey, I'm coming away with my first two as Mahomes and Caleb Williams. Now, you might look at that and say, well, that maybe wasn't the best value on the board. But 2 years down the line, when maybe I got the QB1 and QB2.
Potentially.
And they're, impossible to get off your roster. Right now, Mahomes is down. Huge buying opportunity. And I think Caleb is down, too. When you look at the numbers, it was a great rookie year. People are just hating on him, and he bad offensive line, and so I think Caleb's a really good value right now too. Like I don't think anybody thought you'd be able to possibly still get Caleb after year one.
No doubt,
and you still can.
210 tonight on this mock draft. Right. I definitely see what you're saying there. Well, last time we were doing this, I talked about the third round reversal and how we needed to get it out there more, and then you kind of talked about how it really has. There's such a good talent at 111 in the 112, 2-1, 2-2 turn, and then turning back around. Like right now, St. Brown and Mahomes are gone for 112 and 2-1, and with the third round reversal, the 3-1s on the board, it's almost too much. It really is, because when the draft, like you said, the mock draft that we're in this night on this live show right now, same thing. Like I was, over here, I think I had the 1-2. So when it came time for the 311, I got the 1-2. It comes around for the 211, but with the third round reversal, that flip flops, and now I don't get my third round pick early. I get my third round pick late. It's like, man, this team right here with Malik Neighbors and Trey McBride. To your point about if you don't take quarterbacks on that if you're in the end of the first round and you don't take a quarterback there with those two picks, CeeDee Lamb and Gibbs for the 111, 2-2, right?
Right.
And then the dude just got Bo Nix with the third round reversal, so he's got CeeDee Lamb, Gibbs, Nix. Like those are really good-looking teams.
Yeah. I'd prefer if I could maybe get May in that situation if he would fall. I prefer May over Nix, but plenty of people prefer Knicks over May. And really, I actually learned, we got tagged in a Twitter poll. Somebody was asking, maybe a listener or somebody, and it was like May or Love, and maybe next year's 2 or something like that. And it was very split, but the split was very aggressive. Like it was like either the Love side was stealing or May easy. And for me, it's May easy on that one.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, Love easy, and you're stealing the pick.
Well,
so I thought May's value was just rock solid at this point, which it is when you look at it overall. But there are still some people who are just out on May.
Well, I didn't see that argument, and I think it should be, instead of it being May easy and versus the other side being out on May. I don't think anybody should be out on May. I think that's ridiculous if you're out on May. It's not. I don't think it's as much May easy as. I got something in my notes for some shows that I'm working on for me and you. And for me, for the Jordan Love notes, it says hurt, awesome, hurt, right? He started the year hurt. He got a little healthy. He was awesome for a minute, and he was hurt again. He was nicked up all year.
Yeah.
And there's, stories out there about how they weren't happy with Love, and they went to, pounding the rock with Jacobs. Like, Love was beat up.
Yeah.
It's the NFL. People get hurt all the time, and sometimes it's injuries you might need a bye week to get right. You might need 4 games to get right. You might get another injury during that 4-game stretch and never be right. I think Jordan Love is going to be an outstanding value in startups this year. And if in trades, I'm not trying to trade Drake May and get Jordan Love plus. I'm trying to trade some draft picks and get Jordan Love and keep Drake May.
Exactly.
That's how you need to play it. Don't trade away Drake May and get Jordan Love plus. Keep Drake May. Trade away something else and get Jordan Love while he's on the dip. Buy the dip.
Yeah, no, Jordan Love, both things can be true, and I think that gets lost a lot of times in translation in dynasty trades. Is that when you're selling somebody, you hate him, or and sometimes it just is that, and that's the way I think a lot of people sell it, of just like being very aggressive with it. But it's mostly, I'm always mostly just curious of what I can get and see if it's worth the squeeze. Now, of course, there's people that I don't want to move, but Love does seem like good value right now, and consistently one of the cheaper potential big upside quarterbacks. And we haven't seen the final stage, the Super Saiyan, if you will, if you're a Dragon Ball Z kind of guy, of Jordan Love yet. We just haven't. I don't think we've seen that version of the Packers offense yet.
No. Well, right here, like Joe Burrow 1.4, Drake London 2.9, Jordan Love 3.9, right? So you got, I think my mic just went out. You got Joe Burrow, London, Love. So you got 2 quarterbacks and Drake London, who in the last 3 games when Penix was up, I don't know if you saw that tweet, but when Penix came in there to start, Drake London was like first in targets, first in yards, and first in something. He
also scored like 40 points week 18 or something like that. So that skews some things.
I
was just looking at this today. It's the only reason I know that.
Well, and maybe that third one, maybe it was first in fantasy points for wide receivers.
Yeah.
Which says, if that's the truth, then saying a lot, because Brian Thomas Jr. finished up hot.
Yeah.
And Malik Neighbors scored 30 points in week 8 to week 17. So that's, I feel like I just said that about the third round reversal, but when Jordan Love falls to 3.9, you got 2 stud quarterbacks and a stud wide receiver, Joe Burrow being the first quarterback, that team looks sick.
Yeah, and so I just pulled up Dynasty Daddy real quick to just take a look at Jordan Love right now. When you look at Dynasty Daddy, you can find usually 8 trades for either side, and that's usually what I use it for. Of like, hey, I would sell it for this, or I'd buy it for that. Here it's Jordan Love in the 106 for Joe Burrow. Like, yeah, you know what? I'd probably make that move for Joe Burrow. But on the other side of it, it's JJ McCarthy 2.8 and 3.8 for Jordan Love and 3.3. Like, I'd probably rather have the security of what I know about Jordan Love right now than JJ McCarthy. Could be awesome, could be completely wrong in a year and a half or 2, but those are the first 2 trades that pop up, and they're just very opposite ends of kind of how I would play Jordan Love, right?
Yeah, well, and then sometimes on that website you find the trades that aren't real, and then you get in there and try to find a trade or 2 that you're like, I could lean either way, and those are usually the good trades,
right?
When you can see it from both sides, and that's another thing that I've been working on. It's like you got to think about Dynasty. And the way we talk about trades around here, like, you can't look at it if you're just beating your league mates over the head and winning trades left and right. You need to play play with better players, or B, just tone it down a little bit and try to make trades where it's pretty like down the middle, a good trade. You can see a trade for both sides, right? And we don't know who's winning the trade. If it's a good trade, you don't know who's winning, really. And then when you decide who's winning, the scoreboard could change in a week or 3 or a half a season or next year. You know, you could win a dynasty trade, and then 6 months later, you could look at that same trade and be like, man, actually, I lost that trade. 6 months later, you could be like, man, I really won that trade. That's the beauty of trading. That's why dynasty is fun, because you get to live through that.
Right. Yeah. You win a year and a half, and you lose a year and a half in dynasty trading sometimes, you know, like it's really crazy like that. All right. We'll just pick up in the second round here. 2-1 Mahomes, 2-2 Gibbs, 2-3 McBride, 2-4 Brian Thomas, 2-5 Genty, 2-6 Justin Herbert, 2-7 Puka. So that's some slippage from Puka a little bit there.
I don't think it's so much slippage. I just think it's just ridiculously good players through the halfway through the second
Yeah, I mean,
round.
that's just what you got. That's just what you deal with.
Exactly. It's going to come right back around to, like, if you can stomach trading back from 1-2, 1-3, 1-4 and picking up a haul to have 2 second-round picks instead of having Joe Burrow, or instead of having Lamar Jackson,
right?
Can you trade back into the second round, get a haul, and have 2? You know, can you get, Herbert and Puka back to back in the second round, and then have an extra first and a second next year, et cetera? Like, what? It's the second round players could easily be worth being in the first round, is what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah. No, I for sure.
Obviously Mahomes, but Gibbs. Somebody took Bijan at 1-7, Gibbs at 2-2, potentially the same thing, right? Bowers at 1-8, Trey McBride 2-3, potentially the same thing.
Herbert, Genty, and McBride are the ones that can potentially slide here, and Puka would be 2-2, 2-3, 2-4.
Exactly.
Most times that's kind of what 2-7 seems it's semantics on 3 or 4 picks essentially. Nico Collins goes at 2-8. Drake London at 2-9, Caleb Williams at 2-10, Drake May 2-11, Saquon 2-12. Then we had C.J. Stroud at 3-1, Bo Nix at 3-2, JSN 3-3, 3-4 Marv, 3-5 A.J. Brown, 3-6 Latte, 3-7 Achan, 3-8 Garrett Wilson. There's Jordan Love at 3-9, Breece Hall 3-10, Tedero McMillan 3-11, Kyler Murray at 3-12. So that wraps up the third round. Would you rather have Breece Hall or Jordan Love?
Oof.
Because both guys, I think, should be second-round players.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt. And that we'll cover that more in the Dynasty Trade video that we were putting together. But, that's a good way to say, hey, I just said about trading back from the first round, but it's like trading up from the fourth round to get back up in that top tier of players, to continue to stack those guys. If you don't trade back from the first round, maybe you're trading up from another round to get into that area. I mean, I think Superflex is, for me, I think I got to go Jordan Love, but I don't understand. I don't hate Breece. If Breece Hall did what he was supposed to do, he should be right there with the Gibbs and the Bijan value. That's where he was last year, and things just didn't go right for the Jets, and things didn't look good for him at times. But there was other times where he looked fine, and I think he's going to. I assume and hope for a nice bounce back year for Breece Hall, and I think right now I would just have to take Jordan Love and Superflex. Caveat: if it's 4 points per touchdown versus 6 points per touchdown, that matters. And if you're starting 2 flexes, that matters. Versus if you're starting 3 or 4 flexes, if the more flexes you have, it waters down the quarterbacks. Then you get in there, your wide receivers and running backs and tight ends are bumped up, and the quarterbacks come back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, and on the ADP right now, that's basically Jordan Love and Breece Hall are 3.8 and 3.09. So that's kind of right on par there. But again, those are 2 guys that, if both performed like they were supposed to, would be, mid seconds to sometimes even turn seconds right there.
Turn seconds, yep.
Some people. All right, we got T. Higgins leading off at 4-1. So would you rather have T. Higgins or Tedero McMillan?
Man, what's all this hate about Tet lately? Why is he all of a sudden he's supposedly slipping down the boards, and all of a sudden people are trying to? Was that because we knew he was good for 2 years? Like 2 years ago he was supposed to be the man, and last year he was supposed to be the man, and now he is the man, and all of a sudden he's not the man anymore. We do this every single year. I don't know enough about Tet to say that. I know that if you tell me that Higgins is healthy for the next 2 seasons straight, I'll just take Higgins and Burrow and be done.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Higgins with Burrow and be done. But I just have to, last time we got into Higgins conversation, it's when he's healthy. I don't know why maybe he never misses a game for the next 3 years and he's like a top 5 dynasty receiver, and that's totally within the range of outcomes here. But Tet could, just look awesome week 1 and all of a sudden he's a turn, a 112, 2-1 type startup value after 2 weeks of the season.
Right. No, I mean, I think there's, because of how Tet is built and that he isn't like some crazy uber athletic guy, which the hand time 40 was under 4.5. It's like 4.48. He's probably, we could add a little. He's probably 4.52, 4.53. Doesn't matter.
Who's hand time in 40s anymore?
Just pro days. Because that's just
you don't have a laser set up at a pro day.
I don't know. Regardless,
when I was in middle school, we had lasers set up for our Pittsco dragsters, but that was 25. That was 30 years ago.
Regardless, like, I don't care if Tet runs a 4.5, 2 or 3. It doesn't matter to me. He's big, physical. It seems like an oversimplification. It's probably the first time that I talked about him. I said this, but like, if you just watch Tet run like a whip route that a big guy like him isn't supposed
to be able to do.
It's very fluid and very good, and that just kind of represents the movement. That's the best way I could sum it up of the movement skills that he has. I saw some people like Drake London had like 33-inch arms, and Mike Evans had these 32.5-inch arms or 34-inch arms, and Tet's got like 31-inch arms, and I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah,
I don't care.
Yeah.
Now, I will say he's probably the least bullish wide receiver 1 I've been for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's still my wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
I still think he gets in the right spot. The contested stuff. I just didn't have great quarterback play to really separate himself of like this, excellent prospect, and that can certainly do some damage. But there's plenty of great stuff on tape with Tet. So I don't think he'll be a bust. I don't know that. I think you worry about that he'll be that superstar level kind of player. I think.
Well, how good did Drake London look before Kirk Cousins got there 2 years ago?
Right.
Who was that guy throwing quarterback to him?
Ritter.
Right. Where?
Right, but both of those guys, both Tet and Drake, you could see the specialness there. I probably liked Drake a little more as a prospect than I do Tet, and maybe that's revisionist history, but I did like Drake London a good bit when he was coming out. But both are pretty fluid, big guys, good body control. So, I hope Tet does slip, because that probably means he goes into a better situation, right? That's probably better for your fantasy situation.
That's a conversation we have every year.
And look, if he goes forward to the Patriots, that's exciting too, right? Because you got Drake May and a guy who could be a potential target hog. That's really excited. There's a couple of things in there couple of teams in there that don't make you terribly excited. Is he a team's alpha dog number 1? Is I think the big conversation why people aren't 1,000% in on Tet, and I can understand that to a point.
Well, then it comes down to deployment and
right.
offensive scheme and how it gets worked out. I mean, there's plenty of times that we see wide receivers or quarterbacks or what have you, they don't look right when they're not in the right spot, and then they move on and grass gets greener. Right.
All right. We got 4-2. We'll just start at the beginning. 4-1 T Higgins, 4-2. Rashi Rice, Laporta 4-3, Odunze 4-4, Brock Purdy 4-5, Bucky Irving 4-6, Baker Mayfield 4-7, Michael Penix 4-8, JT 4-9, Trevor Lawrence 4-10, Tyler Warren 4-11, Kyron Williams 4-12, James Cook 5-1, Goff 5-2, followed by Jacobs, Prescott, and the second rookie running back off the board, Omarion Hampton at 5-5. Then we got Chris Olave, 5'6", Devonta Smith, 5'7", Travion, 5'8", Xavier Worthy keeps on keeping on, keeps creeping up this bad Larry, 5'9". We got DJ Moore at 5'10", Chase Brown, 5'11", Jordan Addison, 5'12". Any concern we have a great trio of pass catchers. I think some people were slightly concerned about Darnold. He proved that he could facilitate 3. Any concern for the 3 pass catchers for just the unknown that you have right now, and it seems like all three. Like, it feels like we're all everybody's pretty steamed up about McCarthy, and we're not even sure if it's doable yet.
Yeah,
so is there pause for? Obviously, you're not pausing for Justin Jefferson. I think we're good, and Addison's disrespected
always.
And Hawk, we haven't even seen fully back to what he could really do on a week-to-week basis.
Really, what I guess we won't know until we see it in week 1. It's just making sure that McCarthy and Kevin O'Connell want this distribution tree to stay tight, right? It's okay to have a big 3 and even have a young quarterback get them there, as long as Jefferson gets his 30% and Addison and Hawk can stay in that 20 to 25 that we need out of you normally don't have 3. And it's great to have 3. And, it's been a long time. Peyton Manning used to get 3 wide receivers and a tight end. So there is enough offensive snaps going on, especially that it's like in a PPR league, the way the defense is played now with the 2 high, with all the checkdowns, right? The defenses are making offenses crawl down the field and wait for them to get holding calls or fumbles or sacks to ruin drives. So, you don't get as many big, huge, explosive plays like we used to, and just get big long bombs for touchdowns. So somebody like Hawkinson and Jordan Addison, even though you got a target hog and best receiver in NFL potentially in Justin Jefferson, there's more catches to go around because you got to complete the passes, right? You got to take more dink and dunk, and I think that gives you the value on Addison. I think 512 seems not like he's not really a super value. I think he's a good pick. I don't think you're stealing Jordan Addison.
No, that's what I mean. 512
seems pretty early.
Right. Well, they're all here. There's 6'5", there's 512, and Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. So
yeah,
and you say all that to then come back and say, well, they obviously they didn't pay a ton for Jordan Mason, but they went and got a guy who can be a hammer and brought back in a combination with Aaron Jones, who does something completely different.
Back.
And we know how much of a hammer that Jordan Mason can be in an offense. We saw it with San Francisco. We know those guys all are kind of tied in with each other. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you get, for the first at least half a year, a little bit of a question mark of, hey, the Vikings aren't chucking it around.
Definitely.
Maybe as much as
that's I think we try to do a really good job on here about preparing people for that type of situation. And last year we did a video in the middle of the season, like dynasty buys, rebuild buys, and Jordan Addison was one of mine because and then all of a sudden he obviously tore it up and blew up down the end of this. That wasn't part of the plan. That was great for the way that conversation went, and then the way he ended his season. Those things weren't supposed to go together. I think what you just laid out is a really good potential little crystal ball there. I don't think it should surprise anybody if Jordan Addison starts quote unquote slow, or Hawkinson's
or whoever it is, because we know we talk about this all the time.
Or maybe we make it easy on the quarterback and don't force it to Justin Jefferson because we know the 3 guys are going to cover him.
We also talk about all the time. That's a good point there, but quarterback comes in and they just see and feel and are more comfortable throwing the balls into these combinations
or this window or this
right.
Yeah.
So maybe it's Jordan Addison, and of course,
obviously
they won't phase out Justin Jefferson, but
they might say, quarterback, let's make it easy on you. We know if we run this route, Justin Jefferson's going to get 3 defenders, and then Addison's going to break free and he's going to be wide open. And it's probably going to be more of, let's get JJ McCarthy rolling and make it easy on him. And you would think, the easiest things to do is throw it to the best wide receiver in the NFL. I say that with obviously Chase, cemented himself last year too. But it sounds easy to just throw at Justin Jefferson, but if they got 3 guys around him, maybe it's not quite so easy. Let's take this free runner right over here and wide receiver and toss it to Jordan Addison. So yes, but don't be surprised if somehow KOC's got him schemed up. And Jefferson, the reason he's so brilliant is because everybody on the defense knows he's about to get a target. And when you're playing against him in fantasy football and you're watching the Vikings play, how is he so open?
Yeah.
He's still open.
Well, he's also the guy that you can play for 2.5 quarters and it'll be 0, and then you'll be like, all right, we're doing all right, and then all of a sudden it's still 30 somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
All right, so we got Addison at 512. We got Judkins coming in here at 601. We got McCarthy at 602. So it's just all the Vikings right in this little tight window here. We got Flowers at 6'3", Walker at 6'4", TJ Hawkinson, Cam Ward, first rookie quarterback off the board, CMC 6'7", Waddle 6'8", Bryce Young 6'9", Tua 6'10", Chuba 6'11", Luther Burden at 6'12". Egbuka, nice little double up there from old 12 spot, getting bang rookies like that. Tyreek Hill 7'2", Derrick Henry 7'3", so we got some olds. DK Metcalf 7'4", Sammy D, Kittle, Jamison Williams, Shador Sanders, Jaden Reed, Brandon Ayuk.
Jamison Williams.
No,
never mind. Go ahead.
Brandon Ayuk 7'10", Pickens 7'11", Terry McLaurin 7'12", and then 8'1". Alex, shout out to you with the nice pickup there with my guy Caleb Johnson. So I like that. It's a strong pickup there. He went rookie, old stud, rookie.
Yeah,
like it.
That's
what you call a sandwich.
He's got Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Kyler Murray, Higgins and Addison, Judkins and McLaurin, and then now Caleb Johnson. So he's got 2 young rookie, potentially stud running backs to go along with Saquon. He's got Higgins and Addison. He's got McLaurin to plug in for Addison if the Vikings are figuring things out for a couple weeks. So potentially Addison, depending on what kind of flex spots are in this league, Addison may be a flex or even on the bench. There's nothing wrong with taking a guy in the 5th round and have to put him on the bench for a couple weeks if that's what happens. You know, if you got the right talent. Again, at 5'12", Addison, maybe not, but I do like Addison, and I like how cheap he got last year. To me, right now, 5'12" doesn't feel like that's cheap. I don't think it's reaching, but I think that's decent.
Yeah. No, let's see where Addison typically is here. We got Addison at 607, so
not too far off,
but it does seem you do kind of get in a weird spot in that fifth, 6th round with wide receivers where there's some guys like Smith and Olave and Waddle who we know can do it. We haven't seen Olave and Waddle do it in a minute because of some injuries. We've seen Waddle be a WR1. We've seen Olave even last year was doing just fine, and then had some injuries and didn't see him again. Smith, you're losing Kellen Moore, which we've seen that offense go through evolutions, and when the coordinator isn't right, the Eagles don't look quite right. But what you now have is they've got what the Chiefs have at defense. You have, Fangio ain't going nowhere else, Bo.
Yeah.
He's older. He's not getting another head coaching job, most likely.
And you know what you got too? Like, you just got this pressure release on quarterback.
Yeah.
And potentially maybe if wide receiver combo like A.J. Brown, if there was trade rumors, whatever, teams calling about A.J. Brown, I assume that the Eagles are going to keep A.J. Brown through the NFL draft and next year. I don't know. And this coming season, I don't know why they wouldn't. But either way, like, now you got a stud quarterback and 2 stud wide receivers, assuming A.J. Brown stays there. Like, you're going into the year with Super Bowls, right? Like, you got rings, and you're young, and you're studs, and people said everybody doubted you, said you couldn't do it, and now you did it, and so now you can go out there and hopefully play free, and air it out a little bit, and obviously when you're as good as the Eagles ended up being last year, and they turned everything around on defense, and things were clicking, and obviously things weren't clicking on offense sometimes. Then after the bye week, everything started to go beast mode over there, and Saquon had a lot to do with that. It's just like, why can't Jalen Hurts take it to another level? One could say, well, let's just ride Saquon again and do the same thing we did in the season and try to. Are the Eagles going to go into we just need to be healthy in the playoffs mode, or are they going to go into, hey guys, we're a juggernaut, let's go average 38 a game and like just be superstars?
Yeah,
well, sounds fun to me.
We'll see if the Cowboys can bounce back. There's parts and pieces there.
Oh,
but
what pieces? What pieces?
Well, I mean, the offense should be decent. You do have a solid very
see
good
any pieces.
wide receiver, and you got Dak Prescott. The offense functioned at a pretty decent level with Cooper Rush there the back half of the season.
This is not this is true. This is true.
And I don't know what Schottenheimer is going to bring to this team. They said the team likes him.
He's a team builder
and
He's
responds.
a respect.
Get this
guy.
run
Everybody
game back.
likes
I
him.
don't know why Rico Dowdle didn't just stay in town, but that's neither here nor there.
At this point,
They're going to be in the market for a wide receiver.
At this point, you just need to tune in to listen to how Dan Patrick show talks about Jerry's running of the team.
Yeah,
but
they have a. It's the Cowboys, and I'm not a Cowboys apologist by any team, but they do. There's parts and pieces there, and they do it. There's a chance that they could be a decent team. The Commanders are seemingly in a good position to go challenge the Eagles.
Great position. Here's the problem for the Cowboys: the Eagles are studded out,
right?
And they got probably the best GM in the league. The Eagles are crushing. Obviously, they just won a Super Bowl, but like on both sides of the ball, they got studs and they can punish you on both sides of the ball.
Losing
the problem
some
for the
pieces here
Cowboys
and there, but they're all right.
Yeah, they have lost some D-line play. That's what happens when you win. People
Right.
get paid and they leave. But they got the deepest roster. The problem with the Cowboys is
And you don't lose the core.
Washington. Everybody wants to be there.
Right.
They just brought back Wagner as a
Right.
defense, and they brought back Wagner and Ertz, which are two guys that are easy to let go if your head's in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
But your head is obviously not in the sand when you bring back one of the best tacklers in the league, and you got a guy that, like, signing Bobby Wagner last year you just basically brought in one of the best quarterbacks on defense in the league.
Yeah.
Everybody on your defensive side of the ball is going to be in the right spot when Bobby Wagner's on the field. And Zach Ertz is just a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And he really, down the stretch especially, like, he really gave that young quarterback a security blanket when he needed it, and then they brought him back.
Bring in Debo.
And bring in Debo and making moves, and you got guys out there.
Blanket. Well, and then you made the huge move to trade for Tunsil to get more.
You got guys
left
out
side
there that are saying,
protection.
I want to go to Washington and play with this. I think we talked about it maybe week 3 or week 4, like the Jaden Daniels hope that he brought to the team, just turned it around.
For so long you just had such a stain with the ownership.
Yeah,
and now you have
oh, it's crazy.
Who knows where the top brass in that organization came from? I don't know.
You got somewhere to go right here? I got something to hit. That's funny. I got something to hit right here.
Yeah, what do you got?
Startup value versus rookie draft value.
Mm-hmm.
I got Josh Jacobs goes at 5'3". Amarian Hampton goes at 5'5". There is not. I cannot envision a scenario where I can trade away Josh Jacobs and get the 1-2 or 1-3 in a Superflex rookie draft right now.
No, and that's, I'm in a lot of these mocks that we do building the ADP, and that's always I go into all of them going, I'm not going to take the rookies. I'm going to let other people go where they go. But then you get into that, hey, JT goes and Brees goes, and then you're into that spot, and you're like, well, I want to take a running back here, and Jacobs is on the board, and I want Jacobs, and Walker's on the board, and I want Walker. But when I start looking at value, where they're at, my head just automatically goes, I gotta take the rookie running back here.
And here's the thing: Josh Jacobs could outscore Hampton for the next 3 years.
He most likely is gonna outscore Hampton this year.
He should. If he doesn't, there's a problem somewhere, or either Hampton's just a world beater, and he still could be. But Josh Jacobs is going to get every chance. I think I said what I said earlier at the beginning about the quarterback there, about Jordan Love, and I think that him coming into the season hopefully makes it through and stays healthy and doesn't have like a quarterback of calf strain like Joe Burrow did a couple years ago and ruin his whole camp. I'm assuming Love comes in healthy. I think that would unlock more for the offense. And Josh Jacobs, who was washed in the first half of the first game last year, says the experts on Twitter, ended up having one of the best running back seasons in the league. I think he's going to have a great season next year. I think Josh Jacobs, stays healthy. I think it's a great season. It's just that. I mean, obviously this is a mock, and there's no trades, et cetera. There's no money on the line. This is just a good example of startup value, rookie draft value. When the rookies are in your startup, if you have a startup this year and the rookies are in it, or you do it early enough where you can have draft picks, or however you can draft the picks and have the rookie draft later, however that might work out for your league. Those two guys being within one pick of each other is just a really good example of things get skewed in the startup for values.
Yeah, and I mean, Kyron's right there and Cook's right there, and I like both of those guys, but I feel the same way. At most, Kyron's getting closer to the end of that contract with the Rams.
Yep.
So when you're maybe 1 year away from it now, I don't know that they're going to give him any real money. Maybe they will. Could be wrong. Last time they did, it didn't work out, and I feel like McVay's been a little gun shy since then, but he will ride a guy, and Kyron's been good to them, so we'll kind of see where that goes. And I like Kyron. I think he's great, but there's the court of public opinion is already not super high on Kyron, even though he helps you win. But everybody's going to want Omarion Hampton over Kyron Williams.
Not even close,
right?
And when we have been a very big Kyron Williams show the last couple of years, led by you in that front, and it's been very profitable for anybody paying attention to what you had to say about it. I think you would be remiss to not say exactly what you just said. You have to cool a little bit because he's getting a little bit older and he's getting a little bit farther away from that guaranteed starting spot with the Rams due to contracts, and what happened with Todd Gurley is what Casey's talking about there, if you're not up to speed on what he was trying to say about the contract last time it happened to the Rams. But I did see a stat the other day that said number of rushing touchdowns in the last 3 years, and it was Derrick Henry, and it was Kyron Williams, and it was somebody else. I don't know. But the number of touchdowns, Kyron Williams was maybe one up. Maybe he had one more touchdown than Derrick Henry or the third guy. But then right beside it, the stat was games played, and Kyron Williams had like 4 less games played.
Right.
And so it was more than one a game.
Right.
So he's averaged more than one touchdown a game in the last 3 seasons, has more touchdowns than Derrick Henry and the second place guy and the third place guy. And so all he's done is help the Rams win. Did he fumble a lot this year? Yes. Did it make some people on Twitter upset? Yes. Did it keep Sean McVay from giving him the ball? No. Right? So in a startup,
him being the punt returner matter at all? No.
Where did that come from? Right?
I don't know,
that was here
Jesus
and it was
Christ.
gone. It never mattered.
The things that these people on the Twitter machine obsess about at times is incredible.
It was another layer of narrative to cover up for when people said they didn't like him to begin with.
Right.
And that's happened with Kyron. And it happened with it.
It's happening right now with Chase Brown.
It's happening right now with Chase Brown. I'm surprised it didn't happen with Bucky Irving. Like the acceptance that the entire world has had with Bucky Irving, because Bucky Irving was small and he didn't test well, and he came out and he was awesome. But I guess he was on those people's fantasy teams.
I guess I don't know.
So there's been
weird.
Bucky's got none of the Kyron hate, and he's getting none of the Chase Brown hate. It's absolutely crazy. It
is weird. Why is Bucky Irving not getting replaced by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but Chase Brown's getting replaced by the Cincinnati Bengals?
Not even close. It's like 2 different worlds we're living in with those guys.
Yeah, weird.
All
right, let's pick this thing back up. We got Mixon at 8-2, Judy at 8-3, Tyrone Tracy 8-4, Colston Loveland 8-5, Anthony Richardson 8-6, Chris Godwin, Travis Hunter, Amari, Alvin Kamara, Mark Andrews, Mike Evans, and Josh Downs coming in at 8-12, rounding out the 8th round. We got Tucker Kraft 9-1, Ricky Pearsall 9-2, David Montgomery 9-3. We got Kyle Pitts.
Ricky Pearsall at 9-2. What happened?
I don't know.
Did he get shot again?
That's low.
Last 2 weeks ago, he was in the 6th round.
That's low for Ricky. We'll check what the average is here in a second. We got Kyle Pitts at 9-4. We got Golden at 9-5, Shakir 9-6. Jalen McMillan, 9-7. ETN, 9-8. Pacheco, 9-9. Trey Harris, 9-10. Dalton Kincaid, 9-11. Joku, 9-12. Devontae Adams, 10-1. He's got life breathed right back into him.
Sure.
Sharbs, 10-2. Dart, 10-3. Likely, 10-4. Najee, 10-5. Pittman, 10-6. Keon Coleman, 10-7. Fields coming in at 10-8. Cooper Kupp wife must not like Stafford's wife. What is this? I don't understand what happened there. Like how them boys were like, how did that breakup happen so fast? Them boys were just like, hey, we love you, but we gotta bring in Devontae.
They're trying to win a championship. It's not personal.
Yeah.
They're like, did y'all see Devontae Adams
Stafford's
last
wife
year?
seems like she sucks.
Yeah, it could be better. If it was me, I would have been like, if we're gonna get you this new contract and we're gonna give you this extension, we're going to get away with that that wife's podcast got to go.
Yeah.
Ricky Pearsall we're acting like right
that
now at 9-2. Ricky Pearsall, we're acting like he got Chris Godwin back. Like,
712 is the ADP.
We're acting like he just got the Jalen McMillan treatment.
Right.
Like, like Godwin goes back to the Bucks, who apparently, supposedly, rumor has it he took $20 million less to stay with the Bucks. That's some loyalty, and that's some good time. He loves it over there with
He's got
them
enough
boys.
money. He's all right.
He does have some money. He's got $20 million
Some
less.
of these quarterbacks would just be like, hey, Bo.
He's got $20 million less, but it's like,
I'm not pocket watching anybody, but some of y'all get a little crazy with it. Like, y'all, you can't figure out why he ain't winning.
yeah, share it. So Ricky at 9-2 blows me away. You would think that Chris Godwin.
Well,
just
the
got
fact that
signed
Ricky,
to the
like just like
Niners.
you said, Ricky and McMillan being in the same look. If Godwin's not there, Ricky and McMillan should be in the 3 rounds higher.
Well, McMillan was a round or two higher, and he fell like he should have because Godwin's a stud.
That's what I'm saying.
And Mike Evans is there, so yeah, McMillan gets pushed down. That's how it works. And then Ricky Pearsall got pushed down because
I mean,
I don't know why.
Pearsall's got to be worth a first right now, right?
Definitely.
I mean, not you're not getting in the Travion Henderson sweepstakes with him, but I
No,
mean, you can get in the Luther Burden Egbuka sweepstakes possibly for if
I'm not trading Pearsall for some hopeful wide receiver that's going to get in there.
See, you're going the other way, yeah.
Well, but I would trade him right now for Travion Henderson.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you're getting into that
Yeah.
into that range, but you can get into that back half where the back if
half,
Luther
like,
Burden falls down there, or could be Colston Loveland if it's tight end premium, could be Shador, could be Trey Harris or Golden, that's kind of what you're seeing on the back end of there, depending on who likes Luther in that draft and who likes Egbuka in that draft and where those guys end up.
Yeah. For me, definitely, I'm definitely ready to go wheels up on Egbuka if he gets in the right spot, just because safety. Like I'm gonna talk about a lot about that this year, this off season, in startup season and I did it last year, like just making sure, trying not to blow picks. And I did it last year in the startups, but I didn't do it in our rookie videos that we made, rookie drafts and mocks and stuff like that, because it just sucks. Like it sucks when you blow a pick, it just does. It's like, oh man, I could have had this guy and I took that guy, or what, those conversations that you have with yourself 6 months later after a rookie draft, those could be tough conversations.
Yeah, and see right here we got 701 and 612 Luther Burden. That's where Pearsall's basically been going, is in that kind of range, 6'9", 6'12", 7'4", somewhere in there, and the ADP 712, so it's saying, but we've seen him up in that 6th round, a few times.
Well, and it's almost April. The draft's coming. Everybody's about rookie talk right now, and those guys are the rookies are hot, and everybody wants to talk about rookies. So
and everybody's killing the Niners. They're done. Their Super Bowl window, y'all boys don't have anything else to talk about.
True.
The Eagles Super Bowl window was shut too. I just it's just crazy.
I hate how those windows get shut so quick. By
Who's
people
shutting,
who's
shutting all these windows? I don't understand what's happening.
They don't have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, everyone's like, Niners lost all these players. Like, Bo, name them.
I heard a stat today. The Niners had the most injured starters in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
At least top 5 on players they wanted to have on the field that weren't on the field. Right. So, and a lot of things that went wrong, that could have gone wrong, went wrong. I'm not apologizing for them. They've been as good a team as any team in the last 5 years, outside of some of the teams that won a championship. If you if you just back up, you just zoom out. All right, okay, well, the window's shut. Well, they went to how many NFC championship games?
A few.
And they went to a couple Super Bowls, and they were an Emmanuel Sanders fingertip away. Jimmy Garoppolo threw it a little too far, and then let's not ruin the podcast here by talking about the non-holding calls on the offensive line against Nick Bosa when the Chiefs won. Like the
took them to overtime.
The Niners could have 2 championships in the last 5 years, and nobody that really watches football would be surprised.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo takes 6 inches off that pass. Emmanuel Sanders catches it.
Purdy has an arm.
Purdy's arm blew off. I forgot about that.
Who knows if they beat
they get killed
Eagles
on that game.
But they were
Christian McCaffrey was quarterback in the second half.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was a real chance that they would have been
their running
to the
back
Super
was
Bowl
the
there
quarterback.
against the Chiefs again.
Forgot about that one.
I just
forgot about the quarterback's arm fell off in the NFC Championship.
So it's an odd conversation. People just want to put forks in people when I don't know. Seems odd.
Well, it's a really good clickbait situation.
Sure.
People like to hear if people like to see a demise of a team that didn't win or if they won or not. So like they got up to the mountaintop a couple times and they didn't quite take that selfie with it, so because they didn't exactly get to the top, but they got close enough. They passed a whole lot of it. You know how many teams would trade places with the Niners the last 5 years? 28 of them.
Basically.
28 of them.
Essentially.
So if you can just take all your Niners hate and just look in the mirror and say, if you're not the Chiefs and
sort of Philly,
who am I missing? Basically, Chiefs ruined everything for everybody the last
essentially
7 years. Bucks, Tom Brady's year.
Yeah.
And the Patriots feels like they were so strong for so long. It feels like they were still right here.
Rams
got one. Stafford trade.
All right, let's jump back in here. We got Sharbs, Dart. I think we did that already. We left off at Fields. Got Brian Robinson at 10-9, Ramondre at 10-10, Ferguson at 10-11, Juwan Jennings 10-12. So Juwan's up a good bit. Good to see that. There's Devin Neal, Connor at 11-2 and 11-1, Stafford 11-3, Sutton, Tillman at 11-5, Pollard 11-6, Trey Benson 11-7, Geno Smith making an appearance at 11-8, Swift 11-9, Warren 11-10, Jacoby Myers 11-11, Jonnu and Evan Ingram. So Evan Ingram we can touch on here for a second. Ollie Gordon at 12-2. Evan Ingram was, let's see here.
Well, while you're looking, the Jonnu Smith, Evan Ingram back-to-back picks by my boy Alex right there.
You got Joku.
That's a great 2 picks.
Great 3 picks.
Well,
I'll take all 3 of them.
And Devontae Adams, and they're on a win now team. Like I like to say as somebody's a win now team, and then look at how and you can see his youngsters as well.
Right. Oh yeah, they got to.
Just because he's a win now team, like we say he's a win now team because he's got McLaurin, he's got Barkley, but like Barkley ain't done and McLaurin ain't done, and he's got Judkins and he's got Addison and Higgins and Josh Allen. So like the win now team, he's probably going to be having the 110,
Kyler
111.
Isn't old. Josh Allen's not that old.
Right. So you and Caleb Johnson, the rookie running back as well.
Framework could be there for a long time.
Framework is there, and he went title hunting in picks 10, 11, and 12. Like he's got a completely nice setup. Alex comes through and drafts a nice setup of dynasty team background foundation, and then picks. He was like, you know what? I got some studs here. I'm not too old. I'm not too young. Devontae Adams, Jonnu Smith, Evan Ingram, back to back, bang, bang, bang. And you can say that Jonnu Smith was a twist of the Miami's offense, but if you go back and look at his highlight reel from last year, I did. You know what? It's 7 minutes long because that's how many catches he caught, passes he caught. And I thought it was going to be a whole lot of screens, and there were at the beginning because the way that it's chronological order. The first couple weeks it was mostly screens, but then all of a sudden it was crossers, and then all of a sudden it was a whole bunch of yak, and it was like obviously it was catered towards getting the ball out quick for Tua, but like you don't put that genie back in the bottle. Yes, I know Tyreek Hill had a broken hand and he wasn't right, and for some reason they didn't throw it to Jalen Waddle.
He was banged up too.
You're not gonna not throw it to Jonnu Smith, even if another team has to come along and be like, yeah, we'll take that. Okay, yeah. I know he was on this team and this, he went to the Patriots. He didn't get. Bill Belichick can really screw up player management, and he, as for everything he did right, there's a whole laundry list of guys he got in there and they never produced anything.
Right.
Jonnu Smith was on lock last year, and if you go watch his highlight tape, by the time you get to week 5, there was a 50-yard catch and run against the Rams, I think it was.
Well, we knew he was super athletic.
Exact, Bo. There was the defense was incoming bad. Like the defense had angles on him, and he still got 50 yards down the field.
Yeah.
Like it was impressive. I thought it was going to be because you get caught up in the middle of the season. There's a whole lot going on. There's a million games a week. There's games every freaking night now. The NFL's taking over.
We could pump a break on a night.
Can we just give us a couple nights to breathe, Bob?
Yeah.
I got way too much football going on. So I don't really, you can't see.
Have you seen Have you seen the new Nate Bargatze special?
No.
Where he's talking about reading, and he was like, and it's just page after page. Can I get a second? Just get my head above water?
Yeah. I've seen that joke.
He needs a blank page every so often in these books.
It's good. It's good. Jonnu, baby. Jonnu.
Yeah. Evan Ingram coming up like from 13-7 to 12-1. Honestly, I thought that might be a little higher. I don't know if he's a little further down, but like the fact
he was buried. He was 15th round 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I'm saying the ADP's got him at let's see, 13-7.
Yeah, so that's 2 rounds up right there. A round and a half jump to the Broncos.
And I think there should be even more because we know what Peyton can do with a tight end. Mm-hmm. It's been friendly. He's not your traditional tight end. Mm-hmm. He's gonna soak up some middle of the field stuff and can certainly get you downfield. Had a good back half of 23, and then 24
had a great back half of 23.
24 had some decent stretches there that were okay, and then just some injuries. The team kind of fell apart. But they get him out of there. He goes over to Denver. It's a good spot. The contract is maybe the only thing from really boosting him up a little bit, but that could be so he could see a re-up there without any problem.
Yeah.
So I think right now he's probably one of the best deals going in tight end premium in startup drafts. Just I got no problem taking him in the 10th, 9th round there. Like because I know what I know about what the Broncos have, I'd rather have Evan Ingram going into this year than David Njoku because I just don't know exactly what's going to go on in Cleveland from the quarterback position.
Yeah, and Njoku can get hot.
I would rather have Njoku, but if Jameis Winston was there again, I'd say, whoo-hoo!
Give me Flacco to Njoku. That was
right now it's Pickett.
That was perfect. Yeah. So
and if it's Russell Wilson, I'm good.
The thing about Evan Ingram right now is all signs point to the Broncos hitting running back early in the draft, if not first round, second round. I don't think they get past the second round without a running back. I just don't see it. There's not the normal 10 wide receivers we think can get drafted in the first round.
Right.
And there wasn't any big-time guys. Like, the wide receiver pool for free agency was so bad, all the other teams were like, we better re-sign our guy.
Mm-hmm.
The only move what other move got made other than Devontae Adams that mattered for wide receivers as far as changing teams,
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think
DK,
Denver,
like, as a trade.
Well, DK, but it was a trade. Yeah, good, but DK's a big one. But, like, it didn't have anything to do with the Broncos. And the Cortland Sutton, and I love Marvin Mims, but, like, there's not a lot to grab to throw in the cupboard to give Evan Ingram too much competition.
Yeah.
They go in there. He's got an interview with him saying the word Joker. We all know that how much Sean Payton wants his Joker, and I imagined it was coming from the running back position, like the Darren Sproles and the Alvin Kamara and the Pierre Thomas, and obviously when I think of Sean Payton, I think about all of the running backs that he uses very creatively in the pass game, and his team is always first in running back targets, and then Jimmy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
I don't envision it like a tight end being that guy, but Evan Ingram said the word in the post in his little meet up with the press after he's changed teams and stuff. Like, I think Evan Ingram is definitely undervalued still in the 12th spot, which is what you said. I just said it in a different way. I expect the Broncos to have somebody. They had a bunch of running back targets last year. They just split it up in 7 guys.
Right, and
they're still going to throw it to the running back.
I mean, Javonte Williams had a ton of targets with him. It was they just weren't valuable targets, really.
Yeah, well, and they weren't scheming him targets, but like Evan Ingram could.
What Evan Ingram now does,
off.
Well, it's also they just weren't valuable. Obviously, it's a catch, and it made sometimes the running back startable if you got some catches, but like. There was Cortland Sutton and nobody else. There was a field stretcher, but now if you can put Evan Ingram in the middle of the field, move some stuff around, the running back targets should get even more valuable.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're paying attention to more stuff. Knicks can move around. Now you got Evan Ingram out there. Now you got Cortland Sutton out there. Now you got a field stretcher in Mims or Franklin.
Right.
Now you have some parts and pieces that it's like, oh, okay. And don't forget that defense is frightening on paper right now.
Definitely.
I mean, obviously they took two great players from San Fran and Greenlaw, and we'll see if he can be healthy. And they took Hufanga, and we'll see if he can be healthy. But they added to an already really good overachieving defense, which is why when people talk about strength of schedule in the beginning of the season, nobody was sitting over here going, damn, I don't want to face that Broncos defense fucking week one.
I mean, we know they had Surtain, and you don't want you don't want your wide receiver going against that guy. He doesn't even allow targets. Like, quarterbacks don't even throw his way, but you didn't know that they were going to roll you up like that.
Right. So
I will say that there's a tripod here, and two guys thought Sean Payton was washed and on his way out of the league, and Big Cub was like, give him a second here. Give him a chance. Here comes those Broncos.
He stinks. He really did a lot with nothing. They have like no cap, all tied up in Russell.
They got you got a rookie quarterback, and that's really just that
you
worked.
had to hit.
Right, that was it. And what I will say is I pivoted when off of that.
I just need to.
I didn't like
Sean Payton's a beast.
Sean Payton's a jerk off, but
that doesn't mean he's not a beast.
No, definitely was a well revered and great coach, and we liked it when he came in there. And then it was just like, the way you handled things and the relationships, and I don't like Russell anyway, but he was kind of stuck with him. And then you get the marriage of, I didn't really love, Bo Nix wasn't my favorite. I would take him because he's a quarterback in Superflex and you can get him in the second round. But once that happened, both of those guys became more attractive because you had a marriage. And we talked about that ad nauseum last year of just death by 1,000 paper cuts and then take a shot, which is, if it couldn't have been any more clear, that's what they just did in the draft, and it really worked out for him.
Yep.
And whether or not Bo Nix takes a huge step forwards and becomes this just elite quarterback, it really doesn't even matter at this point. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and Peyton can win games, right? And now you put that defense out there. Vance Joseph, is that the DC?
Is it Vance?
Is he back over there?
That's a good question. I'd have to look that up. I can look right now.
But yeah. So anyway, all right, let's hop back in this draft here. Ollie Gordon went 12-12. Shaheed 12-3. Leggett, Debo, Dobbins at 12-6. Doesn't have a team yet, right? Dobbins I didn't miss that.
Vance is the defensive coordinator for the Broncos currently.
Yeah, he was the head coach at one point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's crushing it. Dobbins doesn't have a team, right? I'm not.
He's free agent.
I didn't
still,
miss that. Okay.
Nope.
Scatabo, 12-7. Got the exciting white there. We got Dylan Sampson, 12-8. Cole Kmet, 12-9. Like that pick. Like the Dylan Sampson. I love that run right there. I mean, maybe Dobbins needs to be a little later, but Dobbins could really come in here. I wonder where and when he'll get signed, but he could really come in and save somebody's backfield if they didn't get what they wanted.
You saved a backfield for the Chargers.
Yeah,
last year.
for sure. And one more year potentially healthy. Looked great at times last year. Now, obviously, we're not getting back to spark score athletic freak.
No,
Dobbins, but still very, very.
There was no question that the gifts and the vision and the tempo, how to run the play was there.
Yeah.
And there was time in the beginning of the season he braked the long ones, and still, I mean, how can you complain about a guy that got a 40-yard gain? He was getting tackled because he couldn't run away from people. But you're 40 yards down the field already. That's good enough for me because 9 out of 10 of the NFL running backs can't even make that play.
Right. That's kind of why the 40s can be a little antiquated because it's like how many of those plays are happening. Anyway, Milrow coming in at 12-11, Ridley 12-12. Manor 13-1, Kelsey, Sinnott, Mims 13-4, Tootin 13-5, Bigsby, Otten, Aaron Jones 13-8, Coker 13-9, Garendo 13-10. That's sneaky. Wright at 13-11, 2 sneaky picks. Then Mooney, 3 sneaky picks.
Yeah, stop at 13-12 for a second.
Hold on, 14-1, another sneaky pick. RJ Harvey's a sneaky corner.
Restrepo, 14-2. Come on. Yeah. I can't take J.K. Dobbins over Scotabo. Come on now. All right, keep going.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's what I said. Maybe a round down for Dobbins there. But I like Wright there, and I like Harvey and Garendo. I love those picks right in that corner. Then we come back out. You got Bateman at 14-3, Sanders, Jatavian Sanders at 14-4. I love that. Jaden Higgins at 14-5, man.
He's coming up.
This is the dichotomy of just like, I don't know if people don't pay attention or they don't want him to be or whatever. And like, I think some people have Jaden Higgins a little too high. But I mean, the fact that he's not an automatic mid-second round pick in fantasy drafts right now is wild to me.
Yeah, that mock. Well,
like Hayden Winks might have him a little too high. Or is that, I think that's, did I say his name right?
Yeah.
On the Underdog podcast.
Yeah.
They might be a little too high on him.
But
the NFL's really high on him.
Exactly.
So like the fantasy community seems to be very disconnected there.
Right. Well, so you told me, you were like, yo, you got to go check out the McShay Report, and that's Todd McShay's new podcast. And he's not talking about any fantasy football.
Right.
He's just talking about football and college players and how the NFL sees them. And Jaden
Higgins is getting second round draft
for
capital.
sure.
Exactly.
So we're in that
in the real draft, not in like
exactly. And
that's why I'm saying he should get mid second round. Like he should be like
draft.
the next tier off the first. Those guys that fall at the end of the first round. He's got to be.
He will be because
and Royals doesn't make any sense right now.
The same guy took Royals in the next round because he knows. But so the NFL is going to draft Higgins much higher than some people have any idea about right now. And so when that happens, then he'll shoot up. So when you're doing your little sleeper mocks at night with your team and you're getting Jaden Higgins in the third round of your sleeper rookie mock, that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so when the NFL draft happens and Higgins goes in the second.
There are 2-11 and 2-12 right now in our ADP. Those two guys back to back.
Right. And but in the rookie mock that I'm in right now with you, he goes in the third round, mid third round. And that's not real.
I took him.
Of course you did.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And fast drafts that we're doing, Jaden Higgins, he's got some variability to him, but second round is usually about where he goes. So if you're not doing the fast drafts, make sure you check those out. We got some content coming out with some fast draft. A lot of fun with the fast draft. You can use promo code FFD, get you a $50 deposit match. You can do rookies only. You can do kind of traditional best ball, but it's only 60 players. So the draft itself is fast. You're in and out in under 10 minutes most times. It's a lot of fun. Download the app, give it a whirl, try it out. Just a different way to play best ball. It's the fastest way to play best ball, and gives you rookies only, as well as the traditional-ish best ball option as well. They have defense only and a lot of good stuff on there. So if you haven't checked out Fast Draft, go ahead and download it. Use promo code FFD, and you'll see me in there drafting.
There it is.
All right, let's go. Where do we leave? Let's see here. We had Higgins. That's where we stopped. We had Freiermuth, Wandale, Ferguson, Terrence Ferguson, that is. Jonathan Brooks, 14-9. Worth a shot, right? Got to take it.
Yeah, worth a shot.
Got to take it. Do you out?
No, I mean, it's 14-9. It sounds like he's free, but then when you got to look around and see what you're giving up, right? In a Superflex, there's Derek Carr. That sounds silly, but he's going to be, he's probably going to be a starter. And Superflex is tough to look around and see what you're missing. Like, tight end premium, Brenton Strange, that gets drafted at 15-6. Obviously, 12 in the world that we live in, another year is forever.
Jacksonville going to take Warren?
No. It probably won't be on the board when it gets there. Apparently, Warren's like a top 5 pick now.
Well, Jacksonville's at 7.
Are they? I wasn't thinking they were that high.
I'll double check that.
So, I mean, Jonathan Brooks at 14-9. It feels like just a free pick. And, depending on how your roster requirements are set up, it's a good draft in an IR spot would be nice in like a FFPC or something. Draft him, put him in IR, hold him for a whole year kind of thing. Worry about that later. But
pick 5.
Pick 5. Yeah, I don't think they're taking him at 5.
Probably not. They got some other issues.
They got issues.
They should deal with the trenches.
Everybody should be dealing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, but I like the Stavin Brooks there. You got Carr, which I'm fine with. Nobody likes him, but whatever. You got Besh coming in at 15-1, like that. Got Kirk at 15-2. Love that over there in Houston.
Christian Kirk.
Yes, Christian Kirk, right over there with Houston. You got Javonte Williams, which I'm still down to take shots on here, 15th, 16th, 17th round. I'll take him. Going over to the Cowboys, sure. Quentin Johnston, Jalen Knoll coming in here at 15-5. He's getting super steamy right now, but still free in our drafts for some reason. I don't know. So, like, I do the fast drafts, and he'll go in like the late second round, and our drafts you could get him in the late third, the ADP's like 4.2 still. I'm like, how is this not higher? He's so much fun. Strange is a great pick right now. It does seem like they might address the tight end at some point, but maybe they like Strange. Spears, 15.7. Royals, 15.8. Braylon Allen, 15.9. Jordan James, 15.10. Arroyo, 15.11. Martinez, 15.12. Brashad Smith coming in at 16.1. Rico Dowdle, 16.2. Giddens, 16.3. Corum, 16.4. Hollywood Brown, 80. Mitchell. Torrey Horton Jr. Fannin. Mason, 16.9. Great pick. Tank Dell, 16.10. Chig and Dallas Goedert rounding out the draft. Woo! Anything team build wise before we get out of here that you want to quickly touch on?
Unfortunately, Tank Dell finally fell into the late 16th round. I had to say it 3 times in the last 3 months about how he's not playing this year and you can't take him in the 10th round. And then the next week I was like, he's not playing this year. You can't take him in the 12th round. And now he's down in the 16th round where he should be right around the Jonathan Brooks category. Pour one out. Man, I hope he comes back. But now you've gotten down there. You got to get he had to fall down some more. And I guess he was too high up in the ADP. I guess people couldn't pass on him. But finally he's down where he belongs. Unfortunately, I hope he comes back.
Yeah, I'm going to reload that Hollywood Christian Kirk duo again all off season, even cheaper. So super excited about that.
Way cheaper.
Super excited about that.
Reload it now. You can do it in the 14th, 15th round.
Yeah. We got this Tasty Tang. He started off with a heater. Chase, Nico, and Garrett Wilson. Pow, pow, pow.
Nice.
That's a dubious trio there. Then you got Brock Purdy, Henderson, Hawk, Sanders, Loveland. So goes Hawk, another tight end there, right there. So it's premium. I don't mind that. Gets a great value in ET. Remains one of the best values in all of fantasy. Najee, and then comes back with the Geno. So you're looking at Shador at 7.8, but then he gets in and reassures himself with Geno. So I like that. A lot of familiarity with where Geno's going. They could use another wide receiver, and then he grabs some more young wide receivers. That was the Higgins and Royals picks. So smart lad there. Gets Debo and Aaron Jones, which could be key cogs in a run here.
True.
Or could be just, I don't think Aaron Jones will be a value killer per se, but Debo certainly could be at that point. And then he gets Hollywood Brown in the 16th. So man after my own heart. Pretty solid start and has availability to move in a lot of different ways.
Sure. No, yeah, I like that's a sturdy first 3 wide receivers, and then Purdy just kind of rights the ship because you don't have a quarterback yet. And like you said, I love what he did, but taking the 7-8, the 7th round Shador Sanders, and then the 11th round Geno to sturdy that quarterback room up right there. I like that. I wanted to go back and look and see how the CeeDee Lamb and Gibbs team turned out and the Neighbors and McBride team turned out. It's like they took Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix got taken as I was talking about that team. But the CeeDee Lamb, Gibbs, Bo Nix, Warren, Goff in the early 5th. Got to do it. I understand. You got to do it. To be determined what the offense looks like with the changes, but it's still, there's so many high dollar contracts on that offense. Now, I think you're still setting up for shootouts all the time. I know that the defense went through all these injuries, and if anybody can get them to play and keep them going, it's our coach. But like you got Penei Sewell, rock star contract. The wide receiver got paid. St. Brown's paid. Goff is paid. You got 3 top tier contracts on
that offensive line.
On offense.
Got a lot of money invested in it.
So you can't, and obviously you got the dome and most of the guys, there's so many dome games getting played for Detroit. I feel like Jared Goff is just so safe.
Mostly be fine.
I think there's plenty of shootouts in the future of the Lions.
You throw Tyreek Hill and Evans in there in the 7 and 8th, which obviously could be huge for you in league winners. For me personally, that's not a move that I'm making there. I'm going to do something else that keeps me a little more
not my cup of tea
fluid.
Either. Not my cup of tea either, but I understand it. I mean,
I basically look at it. We had the Alex buy Devontae Adams in the 10th. Typically, I go, I can buy that guy if I need him. In that case, I'm okay with Terry and Devontae because I like the team that you built around him. You are kind of throwing away value and money, and you have to decide that you're going to throw away the value for potential of that I could win this year because my team's built a certain way. I could certainly trade away some young guys if I needed to from the way Alex built his. He does come back and get Pearsall at 9-2, which is great value, but I don't know. I didn't.
Then you can see him start to chase it down the list. Then you got James Conner at 11-12, which could 11-2, could still James Conner stud. Then Travis Kelce 13th round says he's coming back. Looks like he's going to play. But if anybody drafted after him is any good, you'd be like, you could have had that guy. You know, because he can't be.
It's on borrowed time.
He can't be long.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Tyreek Hill at 7-2, not my cup of tea. I would rather have Jameson Williams at 7-7. I'd rather have Jameson Williams over Tyreek Hill right now in Dynasty.
Yeah, which for 1 or 2 years could look real dumb next year, but yeah.
Yeah, but maybe. But I just don't see the Lions changing up too much.
Yeah.
Obviously, the offensive coordinator just left, so there could be huge changes coming in. But why can't Jameson Williams take a little bit more of a step? Or this yes, then you could say, well, they got the tight end, and they got Gibbs, and they got Montgomery and Jameson Williams. If some of the quality of their quantity last year comes back down because Ben Johnson left, I get it. But Jameson Williams can score from anywhere on the field. He can do damage in less touches. But what if he gets more touches? What if what if St. Brown doesn't stay healthy? What if Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't stay healthy?
Right.
Obviously, what if Jameson Williams doesn't stay healthy? But what if he is the guy? The offensive skill set players for the Lions last year played a lot and played a ton and got points everywhere. Montgomery went down towards the end of the year, but he only missed a couple weeks. But all those key players didn't get hurt.
Right.
Right. And next year that could be different.
Yeah. So we can look at the Malik Neighbors team real quick, and then we're gonna get out of here. We got Malik Neighbors, McBride, JSN, T-Law, Jacobs, Tua, Henry, Andrews, Montgomery, Stevenson, Stafford, Bond, Sinnott, Cup, Javonte, Tankdale. So you started to lose me. I'm okay. I know you're not going to like the Tua pick there. I understand it. You could certainly take Darnold instead of Henry. You lose me with the Henry and the Andrews pick a little bit there. I probably would do something else. Henry's just too old for me to, as a running back position, to be investing that sort of capital in. I'll just, again, it seems stereotypical, but I'll just buy a running back out. Somebody over there's got somebody who's losing as Alvin Kamara or Derrick Henry or somewhere that I can buy a cheap running back, even if it's me and Jason just bought Derrick Henry this year on a league where
even if it's him later,
right? Yeah. For essentially it was 111 or 112 what we bought him for, and so I'm still fine with paying up for him. I just want to make sure I'm in position to have to pay up for him instead of just taking the L.
Sure.
And not everybody's going to be out there giving you a first for Derrick Henry. Somebody's
we tried not to, but
right.
We're just like, man, let's get this championship.
Right. We tried not to, but some people would just be like, no, we're good. We don't want to. We're not going to give you a first. And I'm like, I'm trying to win some money. So, and then Andrews,
which we did.
Then you take Andrews, which you got McBride, man. You're good. I'll take different shots. I'll take later shots on, if you're going to double down on a tight end, double down on something that I'm way more sure of, that I know I can start, and then come back down here and do what Alex did and get Ingram and Jonnu. And
well, like you said, you got McBride. So in my eyes,
you're winning that position every week.
You're already ahead of the game. And Mark Andrews crushed it down the stretch.
Yeah.
And it was obviously he started slow. People hated him.
Didn't they cut him from that playoff game?
There wasn't a lot of context.
He's still around.
That was a bad drop. There wasn't a lot of context on his car wreck, and that car wreck and the coming back from that didn't get enough talk from the national media or from the fantasy football world like it should have for his performance on the field. You saw him get his feet under him or maybe he got the air back in his chest, whatever, and he came to life and scored a bunch of touchdowns down the end. Obviously, I don't hate it that much, but maybe
I don't hate it. I just
maybe get him next. Maybe get him next round if maybe you could take Tucker Kraft there and somebody that's 6 years younger, you because you don't really need. You got Trey McBride.
You could
I don't mind. I don't mind coming out. I love the Jonnu Smith, Evan Ingram back to back, but that was 3 rounds later with less value on the board.
You could have taken Ayuk or Pickens.
I'd much rather have Pearsall
or Colston Loveland at the 7-3 spot.
I'd much rather. But 7-3 spot. That's earlier. Colston Loveland. That's earlier.
I'm just saying you could have paired Loveland with McBride, and then you did do something different at 8-10, which could have been Pearsall. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's if I'm going to take another shot on tight end, which Loveland's still a good value right now. That'd be more. And Andrews might have 3 awesome years and just slaughter it. Andrews has been great.
I hope he does.
And maybe you look back at this in a year and he slaughtered it in your flex position. It
wouldn't surprise me at all if Evan Ingram outscores Mark Andrews this year.
Right.
It's not going to surprise me if Jonnu outscores Mark Andrews.
It won't surprise me if Likely outscores Andrews this year.
Right.
Or it won't surprise me if Andrews is the fantasy tight end 3 this year either.
Won't surprise me at that either. Nope.
So this is just, again, personal preference of how I'm seeing. I'm just not going to take that risk right there.
Getting into that spot at 8-10, you already got one core tight end. I'd rather have Pearsall at 8-10.
Yeah, if I need to take the risk because I don't have a tight end, then I may do that. Monty and Stevenson, I like both of those guys. I think both of those are really nice picks. I know less so on Stevenson for you, but I love that.
Well, for me,
I think they're going to be banging in them trenches in the draft, and I think Stevenson's going to be a stud. I think
those can be solid value picks, but the fact that before you pick those 2, you already had Jacobs and Derrick Henry.
Right. So well, that's what I'm almost removing Henry from this situation and going, yeah, those 2. I like those 2 guys.
Yeah.
And then Stafford. Do you get Stafford bolsters your Tua? You got to take a shot on Bond. See, in that Bond spot, I'll take Higgins. Jaden Higgins in the 14th down there instead of the Bond at the 12th. And then Sinnott, sure, but I think you could probably get – I would assume Sinnott's going later at this point with an Ertz re-signing and probably sitting tight for a year. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen –
Take a shot on Kupp, take a shot on Javonte, Tank Dell in the 16th, sure. So I like the beginning of what you did there, Rucksack. Little squirrely in the middle for me. But, I like where your head's at for the most part.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Let's get out of here. We'll be back next week. More Mock Draft Monday. Be sure to keep it locked and loaded. Like, subscribe, 5-star review for listening on the podcast. Join us if you're listening on the podcast or you're listening later. Come join the fun live and potentially even get a spot. Join the Discord, the free or paid. Best way to get the free one gets you invited to the game, the show here as well for the mock draft opportunity. So make sure you join. All the ways to help out and support the team. $5 holler, $10 holler, roster reviews. We'll have a shop here soon where you can buy some hats and shirts and all sorts of stuff. So, we got to get all that stuff copyrighted first because there's a lot of people biting shit out here these days.
I like it.
All right. Y'all ready? Let's get the FF out of here.
Appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Peace.